And we're back now with our breaking news. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky talked to CNN today. He did it from a bunker in Kyiv. He talked about his country's determination to fight off the Russian invaders. And he talked about his message to Americans and to President Biden. Let's bring back CNN's Matthew Chance in Kyiv, who did this interview, who conducted it. Matthew, tell us about your conversation with President Zelensky.
Yeah, well, first of all, we were taken to a secret location inside central Kiev, near the presidential compound. We were escorted by heavily armed military forces into an underground bunker when President Zelensky finally arrived wearing green sort of military fatigues. I talked about all those things, but I started off by asking him what his message was for President Biden ahead of the State of the Union address later on tonight.
What message? So many messages. I think that he has to give those messages what will really work. That is very important to be very, useful in this situation, in this war against Russia.
I think, first of all, he's a world leader, and it's very important for people in the United States to understand that despite the fact that the war is taking place in Ukraine, it's essentially for values in life, for democracy, for freedom. Therefore, this war is for all the world. And that message should be sent far and wide, from Ukraine to people in the United States, so they understand what it is like for us here, what we're fighting for, and why support for Ukraine matters.
For a long time, you downplayed the US intelligence assessments about there being an imminent Russian attack. Do you now regret that? And do you think the fact that you didn't act earlier has left the people of Ukraine unprepared?
The response you see today, how we work, how our army works and defends us, is a testament that we're ready for anything. Even though we were preparing in advance, it's important not to let your enemy anticipate your reaction. That's why I really did not like that situation where we put everything at risk and tell the world that we're preparing for war.
The United States has said that it will not enforce a no-fly zone over this country, and it won't put boots on the ground. But do you think it is now time for President Biden and other Western countries to reconsider that and to help you, not just with military aid, but with manpower?
I've already turned to some foreign leaders with this request. I believe that leaders must support democratic states of the world who are keen to defend such principles. The powerful issue of closing the airspace helps us tremendously. This does not mean dragging NATO into this war. We spoke many times with President Biden, and I'm thankful for him, for these opportunities and support, but they also did not hear me. I've been telling them that Ukraine will fight hardest of all. You will see, but us alone against Russia, we would not be able to do it.
Your army has enjoyed some significant battlefield victories in the past week. I myself have been to see some of the Russian armored columns that have been totally hammered and destroyed by the weapons and the men that you've got fighting the Russian advance. Are you now concerned, though, that the Kremlin will double down on its military operations and hit Ukraine even harder?
Firstly, why are we winning, or why are we defending ourselves? Because this is our home. Yes, Russia will double up, but take a look at them. Why our men are stronger, more powerful and successful? Because, as I said, we have what we need to protect. And they do not even understand our state. They do not know these streets. They do not know our people, do not understand our philosophy, our aspirations, what type of people we are. They don't know anything here. They were just sent here to fight and to die.
You sent your delegation to meet the Russians for talks. Yeah. Did anything substantial come out of that? Is there any hope as the world watches for diplomacy?
They decided to begin to speak about this situation. And I really wanted, and I asked them, so you have to speak, first of all, everybody has to stop fighting and to go to that point from where it it was beginning. Yes, it began 6 days ago. Yes. I think there are principal things you can do it, and that is very important moment. If you do this, and if those side is ready, it means that they are ready for the peace. If they don't ready, it means that you're just, wasting time.
And do you think you're wasting your time, or do you think they're ready?
We'll see.
Well, Jake, we will see indeed, because it's been reported from Russia that there are more talks scheduled for tomorrow between Ukraine and Russia to see if there's a diplomatic solution that can be found to this. Ukrainian officials that I've spoken to, though, say the bombing campaign is so intense that everything might change.
Matthew, it's tough to envision any sort of diplomatic off-ramp for Putin. He has decided to go in and invade a country and kill civilians unprovoked just because he thinks that country should be part of Russia. Does President Zelensky see any diplomatic off-ramp at all?
At this stage, no. I mean, he played down the possibility there was going to be a diplomatic outcome. Not even the possibility of a ceasefire, he said, until he saw that, until he stopped the actual fighting. He saw the actual fighting stopping. As you said, he didn't think that the other side, the Russians, were serious about this. I mean, look, the Russians may be playing for time. They may be engaging in these negotiations so that they can rethink their plan, rethink their tactics, which clearly aren't going very well, and perhaps gather more forces. On the other hand, Vladimir Putin and the Russians, they have been blooded. I mean, there have been significant amounts of Russian forces that have been destroyed in their attempt to take this country and to take its population centres. And so, I don't want us to rule out. We should hope that there is still a possibility that there will be some kind of climb down. But I mean, the truth is, the record when it comes to the Kremlin and Vladimir Putin, it doesn't give you much room for optimism.
And President Zelensky, I don't mean this in a critical way, but he was unshaven. He looked exhausted. Did you get any sense of how he's holding up, not just physically but mentally?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously under a massive amount of pressure.
Right.
I mean, this is a hunted man. He believes he's hunted. He believes he's the #1 target of the Russians, and that his family are the #2 target. That's what he says. But yeah, I mean, he's hiding from, moving from bunker to bunker. This was just one of the locations where we met him that he spends time. And yes, he was wearing military fatigues. He was unshaven. He looked very pale. He had red eyes. He spoke very emotionally about his family. He was asked, at one point, when was the last time you saw your family? And he said, I haven't seen them since before this war. And then he corrected himself and said, actually, it was 3 days ago. So, and he wasn't happy about that. He's under an enormous amount of pressure. He's been thrust into this role. Remember, it wasn't long ago that he was an actor on television playing the president in a very popular sort of comedy on Ukrainian television. He then actually became the president, and now he is this kind of figure of this almost iconic figure of the Ukrainian resistance to Russian pressure, which an enormously pressurized role to play.